Leslie and I have known each other since early childhood. We grew up on the same country road in Mississippi.
I think why we're good for the community of Mississippi is because we're a product of this community. We are just two country guys, and we were embedded with what I call the diamonds of good character.
Come, join the family, and help us build the community.
Charles Irvin.
What's going on, Leslie?
What's going on, man?
It's Friday, brother.
Indeed it is. And you know, a lot has happened this week. So, we say that every week, but no doubt, 11 days.
Yeah, we're 11 days from the end of voting. So now it's time to press the gas.
I'm just going to yield and let you give your monologue to get us kicked out today, because I certainly have a lot of questions, more questions than answers. But why don't you set the mood?
Well, it's so much stuff going on. I would start with this. There's a new report out as of today that the Trump administration scuttled vaccine tracking almost a year ago. They have Operation Warp Speed going on, but I don't know if you heard President Obama speaking in Philadelphia earlier this week.
I did.
So those two things go hand in hand, because a lot of the things needed to combat COVID-19 were in the pandemic playbook that he was talking about during his speech. All of that stuff was left behind for the next administration, and it all got scuttled. There was an infectious disease team that they kind of pushed to the wayside. Now we find out they pushed vaccine tracking to the side. And meanwhile, today we are in the middle of a new heated wave of coronavirus uptick in infections and death and hospitalizations. So yeah, there's a lot going on. It all goes back to the choices you make as an individual when you go into that voting booth, because some people sat out the last election, and the result of them sitting out of that election is that you end up with a reality TV show as president.
Well, that indeed is true, and I think. There was somebody that did a focus group on that, just talking about they had about 25 or 50 of people that sat out of last election, and there was a lot of varying reasons of that. There was an interesting thing. I was looking at some of the focus groups that some of the networks did last night after the debate, and the interesting one was a millennial. So he would represent this new age demographic of voters. The youngest demographic of voters, and he said that this was the first for me. It was very interesting. He said, "I'm pro-life." So I just knew when he said he was pro-life, then that he was going to be voting for Trump probably in an election. I mean, which is fine. It's a choice. So that's what I assumed, but I was wrong, because he said, didn't he follow and said pro-life, however. If the justice is selected and that's out the way with, then I would probably be likely to vote more Democratic, because I'm aligned with the views, particularly on healthcare and on some of the other key issues facing us, which was a different slant than what we've heard typically in every generation that I have known, or my generation, our generation, and the generations preceding us have they've been pretty clear one way or another. What it shows me is just the complexity of the generations going forward, they're really thinking, and you're not going to be able to just give them anything. I mean, they think, they research. So it's a different type of voter. And I think in every election going forward, candidates going to have to work much harder to truly relate and understand and get the information out to all demographics and all generations. And they're going to have to do it very differently.
I'm going to challenge you there.
All right, go ahead.
It's always been that way.
Okay.
If you want someone's vote, you have to actually find out what's important to them and see if you find some common ground. That's all that is. But what you're hearing is, when you hear pro-life and healthcare, hey, Ms. Green, when you hear pro-life and healthcare in the same sentence, what that says to me is those are one and the same, because how can you be pro-life and vote for someone who's killed 225 people because of their ineptitude? Life is life.
Well, I mean, but don't you think, and I understand you're saying that you think that it's always been that way, but don't you think it has a little twist, even more of a twist now than what we've seen in previous years?
I don't, because we were once them. And if you wanted our vote, you had to come with it.
Huh. Okay.
You're just getting old, brother.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what that is. Just getting old. Man, it's okay.
Okay. Hey, I just thought it was
No, the other thing that you're picking up on is they have readily available information that we may not have had. So his answer is going to be a little bit more nuanced, but you're still going to have to bring it, because with the advent of the smartphone, everybody has a computer in front of them. So there's no excuse for you not to be nuanced on your issues.
Okay. Well, okay. I mean, no, you bring up a good point, because, I was thinking about the fact of the matter, how quickly they can get the information today, the level of information that they can get to and how quickly they can get to that is so much different than it was even 10 years ago, right? Because even 10 years ago, just to put it in perspective, 10 years ago, guys, we were on 3G on cell phones. So let me take you back. So listen, Siri was in its infancy 10 years ago. The power of the cell phone was nowhere near what it is now. It could never be used as a processor and shared with its computer. So we had access to information over the internet, but not at the palm of our hand.
Yeah, but think about this too, Liz. Those kids have never played the dozens in person. That's why they're very sensitive. Mm-hmm. We transferred information. Our social media was face to face.
You got a good point there. So I think, look, we're both professors and teachers. I find that even in my students, their ability to debate issues or to analyze face to face socially, where you've got to react to the opposing views, comments, is nowhere near as sharp, and as they're not comfortable in that space, because, like you said, they just haven't done it. They've done it from a screen. They've done it from what I call modern conveniences, but it's nothing like being under the lights.
Yes, but you got to think about this too, Liz. We took typing. There were no computers to learn how to type on. We learned how to type on word processors.
Well, I mean, look, if you had a word processor, you was batting 1,000, because.
Yeah. And Ms. Kagan distinctly told us in our typing class. Matter of fact, she made Tony stay up to school because he wouldn't do his homework. She told us in that class that this will prepare you for the future. This is just the evolution of that.
Well, that's true, and it did prepare us for the future.
Yeah, no doubt
But
about
that
it.
was
What you're doing is you're waxing nostalgic about you at their age and how you process the information versus how they process information.
right.
But what I see is a convergence because the reason I say life is if you can value the life of an unborn fetus, then you should be able to value the life of grandma, grandpa, auntie, sister, cousin, brother, nephew, um, and other people in the community that you may not know.
True.
So that's what you're hearing because why is healthcare so important right now? They're trying to take it away. One thing I know about politics is this: when you give the world or give the country, when you give them a benefit, yeah, I don't care how hard. Okay, let's look at it this way. Let me back up because I was about to go down a rabbit hole. Let me back up a little bit. Obamacare. There was a time when you would not say that term because it was offensive. But if you look at the favorability rating, 10 years later, oh, people have learned to use Obamacare. People want Obamacare because it lets them plan better, lets them get better care. Now you want to take it away.
Yeah, ironically now, and I'll say this to both sides. I noticed that last night. That's one of the things that I zone in on the debate because I love a good debate. Period.
Yeah.
It's the technical art of the debate. But one that I picked up on last night that they both jumped on, everybody quick to own it now and slap their own name on. So the president even made the comment similar to, well, it won't be a call, Obamacare be better, Trump care, whatever, it was something different. Biden said, well, it won't be Obamacare, be Biden care. And I'm laughing because I'm like, what was once so uncool to say, it's very cool to say now. Because I think we realize the importance of that now, and never a time greater than this, where automatically you have. I've been so discouraged in looking at the number. I hadn't even looked to pull the numbers for today yet. But you got last time I looked, over 8 million people that automatically now have a pre-existing condition.
That's right.
May not have had it before.
That's right. And I want you to think about it this way too now, because Warren has agency in Obamacare. Joe Biden has agency in Obamacare because he was there to roll up his sleeves and help push that boulder up the hill so that people would have health care closer to having health care as a right. The other guy handed Leslie Stahl a binder about this tall and this wide and said, here's my health care work. One of the reasons why he walked away from that 60 Minutes interview is that Leslie Stahl opened up that binder and it was blank pages. So you got to understand who we're talking about now. Short on substance. Short on substance now. The president is not the sharpest nail in that stack right there.
Well, that brings me some. I wanna pull up something as we talk about it. Keep going. I know you're gonna touch on this, but I want to blow this up a little bit here. So as we look at this, two numbers that just stick out in my mind here, and I want to spend a little bit of time. So when we talk about pre-existing conditions, so for everybody that's not grappling with that, so in the health insurance world, if you deem to have something prior to having the insurance, they deem that as a pre-existing condition, which means anything that they can tie related to that as the source of it, they don't cover. Which is basically means you don't have insurance for the stuff you need insurance for the most. Now, 8.5 million cases, 223,000 Americans dead that are no longer with us. And I say that like that bluntly because it means something to me. 223,000 of our friends, our cousins, our neighbors, strangers, acquaintances that are no longer at the kitchen table, at the job, at the grocery store, in traffic with you. They're not there.
Mm-hmm.
Then if you look down beneath that worldwide, 42 million cases. So, I have to do the percentage of that to just show you what we are making up of the world cases.
4% of the world's population, 20% of the world's cases.
There you go.
It's simple.
There you go. Now, 28.4 million recovered. So here's how big that gets in the scale. So when you look, and I don't have the U.S. recovered numbers, but 28.4 million recovered worldwide. That's all pre-existing conditions.
Yes.
All pre-existing conditions.
Yeah.
And when you look at the deaths, 1.14 million deaths worldwide. And I don't know when the last time you guys looked at a globe. The world is massive. The United States is only a small part of the world.
That's right.
And so when you look at that, I got to get the calculator because, but when I look at that, man, what's that? Oof. There you go again. 20% of the deaths right here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot, right?
That's a
When
lot.
we talk about worldwide, when we look at the world, that's everybody. We're a very small part of the world. And so when we look at that's a lot of people. Every single one of those is a person.
Yeah. So that's why it becomes paramount that you vote, because you had someone stand in front of the nation and basically the world last night and provide misinformation about a deadly virus that we're rounding the corner, that vaccines will be ready in a couple weeks, that 99% of the people are, going to be okay. Your agency is in the vote.
I think, and let me give a big shout out to our teachers and anybody in education, particularly in the secondary education that are back at school with kids in school. Look, the comment, I thought that was a little bit distasteful to say, the comment that was made toward teachers. Most of you would not die. As factual as that is, when we're talking about death is final. It's a finality state of life. That's it.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that. It's a reckless disregard for human life. And when you have a reckless disregard for human life, you have a tendency to say stuff like that. I mean, it's plenty of stuff that I could go down the line that he said that was reckless. But in that instance, what he's saying is get back in there and teach those kids. If you die, you die.
And look, one thing about me, listen, I how I love good debate. So I got friends across every sector. I got Republican friends, Democratic, Independents. I got ones that's anti everything. And what I challenge everybody to understand is there's just some things, and you've heard me say it a million times, that are just human issues. Human issues.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a couple of facts. And I don't need the scientists to tell me that because I have lived it and know for sure it works. I don't care if you're from Argentina, the U.S., Indonesia, wherever you're from, Canada, Russia, I don't care where you're from. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what ethnicity. I don't care what age group, what demographic. If I cut you, you're going to bleed. That blood going to be red.
Mm-hmm.
My point is this. We're all human beings. We're all human beings. And so there's a certain decency that I think is just required as human beings. And I think no matter what your beliefs are, when you speak about the American people as a whole, or any people as a whole, there's a certain level of human decency and respect for life that we all must have. So that's just my take. Now, as we move more into these 11 days remaining of the election, because the election has already begun, we have, what's the latest? How many people have voted now, Charles?
Oh, brother. I'm about to send you this so you can put it up. I want you to see. I want you to see democracy in action because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It'll be the last item that I just sent you.
Okay.
If you just put that up, we can marvel on that for a second.
All right.
What that lady said when she was being arrested outside, you about to lose your job.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Blow it up a little bit so we can look at the number. I want you to look at democracy in action. Look at that. As of today, as of right now, it'll be another update a little bit later. 52,718,496 votes are in the bank.
Wow.
52 million. I want you to click on NC for me. You don't have to blow it. You just click on NC because you're gonna need to blow this up. I want to show you something. Now go to the number so you can see kind of where the numbers are shaking out. 2.6 million people have voted in North Carolina. And the reason I want you to show that is because in a second I'm gonna have you pull that down and I'm gonna go right to what you were talking about as far as the nuance and the ages. That's a lot of votes. And it's another week left in voting. And this is about to be a big voting weekend for souls to the polls.
Yeah, that's a lot of people voted. And that's just North Carolina.
Yeah. Now I want you to do one more before we pull it down.
Okay.
Would like for you to hit on TX. Just scroll back. Hit the back button and go back.
Wow.
That's what it looks like when you go from last in voting to first. One of your theses for why Texas was red is that it's a Republican state. And that was true maybe 10, 12 years ago. One of the reasons why Texas was red is because of voter apathy. And because the apathy stemmed directly from voter suppression.
I want to show, sure, let's look a little deeper at this. I know you got your students working on this, but look at this number. 6,380,684 total of all types. This is the number that's getting me. 5.5, almost 5.6 million of that in person.
That's right.
Look at this, man. We talking about 6.3, 90% in person.
Yes, because when you tell people again that they can't do something, people don't like that.
I mean, return mail ballots, the absentee in the mail.
That number is going to go up because it's going to be graduated as people send in their ballots. But if you click on the mail requested, that'll show you how many you can look for.
Oh, it's not
have it in there, but you can that number will go up depending on drop off times.
Right, but this just amazes me. Early voting
in person.
It's early out, and we have just in the state of Texas, almost 6 million people have already cast their votes.
Yes. And I'm telling you, you've gone from last to first because people just didn't vote. So you can pull that one down. I want to jump on this so we can run through this real quick. If you'll pull up it's a bar graph I sent you. You'll see it underneath. Skip over the Pennsylvania stuff I sent you. I'll talk about that in a minute. But there's a bar graph. First slide that I sent you.
Okay. Not the
got vertical bars on it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, blow it up a little bit.
The more liberal polls still show Texas as leaning Republican or leaning red. So
Yeah, this is North Carolina. Look at these. This is in your wheelhouse. Why don't you take it away? Generation Z, Millennial, Generation X, Boomers, Great.
yeah. Now, yeah, let me dive into this, and this goes exactly to what I was talking about. So, typically, so let's go to, and I have no gripes about it. I'm in Generation X, Charles Generation X, but I'm gonna focus on three generations right quick. So I want to look at the generation ahead of us, which is the baby boomer, our parents,
Mm-hmm.
Generation X, and then we're gonna look at the generation right behind us, which is the millennials, and then we're gonna take a glimpse at this new generation, which are a lot of first-time voters right now, Generation Z, because that 6% is going to grow a lot over time here in Generation Z, because there's more of them. But look at this. So, a couple things I want to point out. So, when we look at the baby boomer generation, all right, 32% of those was registered Republican. 43% was registered Democrat, and then we had that 25% that was on the.
That's not registration, sir. That's votes.
I mean votes. I'm sorry, votes, not registered, actual votes.
Registration is over. This is get it time.
This is actual votes cast.
Yeah. So
right, by
those
party
numbers.
registration in terms of how they were registered and
Right.
not how they voted. We don't know how they voted. We're just talking about their party affiliation. All right, so let me just clear that up because that's the next thing I get. Somebody, how you know how many? I don't know what they voted.
Right.
This is just how they were registered.
Right. Vote. Party identification only.
That's it. Only party identification. Now,
out of that number, this is the breakdown of where it is right now in the North Carolina race.
Right. So if you just look at, so that's the baby boomer. Now let's move over one generation back and go to Generation X, which we represent. So in that span of a generation, you went to 28% registered Republican, 41% registered Democrat, 31% registered unaffiliated. I'm going somewhere with this. So as we see the progression as we're moving to what I call, we had what we call generational thinking. So you were more likely to do whatever your parents did.
Yes, but
then as the informational age picked up and more access to information and more independent thought came in, watch the number that's moved.
Yeah, but I need you to make one small adjustment as you do this. I'm telling you, I tell my students, I need your language to be real precise because you keep saying registration. Those are votes.
All right. Yeah. Voter. This is actual
if you look at the bottom, it says cohort percentages of total votes cast so far. This is as of today. This is where the party identification breaks down on who's casting votes.
Correct. So you guys have heard that restated by Charles. So that's true. So we're talking about actual cohorts by their party registrations that are in North Carolina so far.
Right.
So when we look at this move now, just that alone, you get you see a jump. So you see a 6-point jump, a 6 percentage point jump by generation in the switch taken from both Democratic Party registration, Republican Party registration, moving to where?
And you're looking at the independent or no party.
They're just unaffiliated, meaning they vote issue based.
Yeah.
You got to win their vote. You got to earn that vote. You're not going to get what I call the generational swing. You got to go out and work for it. In other words, you got to hit issues that are relevant to them. And that's what you talked about early on. Now, watch this. That was a 6% in that generation. And then if you look to the millennials, it jumped another 6% to 37% in the generation directly behind us. And look at the party registration. And by the time we get to this new generation, which is currently voting now, Generation Z, the youngest generation that's voting currently, 40%. So if you don't see the trend of that, that means that all parties now, you better be able to work and earn you got to educate, you got to earn that vote now, because it speaks back to that, having that power of information in your hand to be able to make independent decisions that may be different than what your parents made, that may be different than what your older siblings made, because you are more issue driven than what affects you than previous generations, a lot due to the access to information and social media and how it's changed the game of democracy in terms of voting overall. There it is. I just wanted to bring out that viewpoint. That's how I look at this. So when I look at this, for a whole lot of reasons, I get excited. For a whole lot of reasons, I get excited, because independent thoughts gets me excited, because you got to go out and earn it, baby. You get nothing is given. You got to go get it.
It shouldn't be. Your vote is too valuable for you to just give it up. It's too valuable.
What strikes you as interesting from a scholar from the other side of the house looking? What strikes you as interesting? So I just share with everyone what strikes me as interesting about this, what I get excited about it, but what gets you excited about what's happening in each generation?
Well, when I know that it's still another week to go and you have 2.6 million votes in, and I'm looking at Generation Z and millennials, and the common language around those age groups is that they don't vote. Well, it looks like to me they are voting.
Yes.
Looks like to me they have something that they want to say. and this is how you say it, together.
And if I had to sum up the thought form, this reminds me of an old movie that was out with old Petey Green, the old DJ in DC area. He's like, talk to me.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. Talk to me about what you're gonna do as it relates to these issues that matter to me.
I'm gonna challenge you on that a little bit.
Okay.
This to me says that I have heard you speak and I don't want to hear it no more.
See, I don't see it that way. I see I've heard you, but it's not that I just heard you. Either you're not saying something.
That sir is a repudiation.
Well, okay. So my wife had a great aunt that would always say, you're talking all that noise, but you're not saying anything. You've got to speak to the issues, and you got to speak to solutions to problems.
Right. And the issue here is I see people dying all around me. You're trying to take away my health care. The planet is on fire or it's flooded, depending on where you live. And you're not speaking to any of that. So I'm going to take my vote and go down there before you blow up the planet, kill me and my family, and I'm going to vote you out. That's what that represents.
That's pretty much what that represents.
Yes. So before we lose time, I know people don't really like looking at graphs a lot. I want you to go to the Texas. Well, actually, let's look at Mississippi a little bit. Mississippi born and bred. I want to show you something. You see the one that says Mississippi Free Press? Put that one up.
Okay. Let me find out. All right.
This is wild, brother. This is what I call some heat. Huh? Look at this. First numbers coming out. What do all these counties have in common?
Well, those are heavily blue counties, aren't they?
Heavily black counties.
Which typically means blue.
Yeah. Well, for today's purposes, we're looking at where those are located, and I want you to look at the percentage of. We don't have early voting in Mississippi, so this is the only thing I can geek out on in Mississippi right now, because we got to wait till November 3rd to actually mash the gas. But it seems to me people just couldn't wait any longer. They said, I'm going down there and I'm gonna vote. So this is actually a lot of votes for Mississippi, because look at the percentage of the 2016 absentee vote. Hines County is 181%. Harrison County 150. Washington County 146. Lafayette, 141. Jackson County, 135. Sunflower, 130. Jeff Davis, 113.
So much for not getting out. So much for not getting out the vote.
It's a national trend coming this way. I've been saying, y'all don't listen to me, so I don't know why I talk so much. But I'm telling you now, the numbers are going to be astronomical.
Look, you know me. You know I challenge you on just about everything. But I mean, this is mind-boggling to me because I don't think I ever would have imagined at any point of time in my lifetime that we would have enough motivation about a particular election. That when I look at it has been the biggest county in population of all of them, 181% more than the percentage they had in 2016. We still got time.
That's what I'm telling you. So that's beautiful. That's democracy in action. Now
I know where just about every county is on here except for Sunflower. We're in Sunflower County.
That's in the Delta, son.
That's not green. Where's Sunflower County? You're gonna make me look that up.
You should know that.
I should. That's what I'm saying. I should know it.
Yeah. Well, you look that up later because I want to show you some more stuff about Texas. Look, there's a graph. Well, yeah, there's a block graph that I sent you. It's just a bunch of boxes. It's in between the endorsement I sent you and Madam Vice President in waiting.
Is it like a color chart?
Uh-huh.
All right. And that's Indianola, by the way. That's the biggest city in So yeah. I definitely was supposed to know that.
Yeah, you supposed to know that. You ran and looked it up real fast.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Shout out.
Talking about. That's got access to information at your hand.
Yeah, shout out to Miss Betty Petty up in Indianola because I know a lot of that is her pushing the votes out. Blow it up a little bit because I want you to look at this. Because you always the Texas prognosticator. I'm trying to tell you something is happening here.
All right, talk to me.
Now, remember when I told you the bellwether was going to be? This is 2016. This was the presidential election color chart for 2016. Harris County, largest Democrat stronghold in Texas.
No doubt about it. In the biggest county.
Yeah. They almost at 1 million votes.
That's crazy.
They had 800 last in 2016. So shade that a little bit bluer. Dallas County, already blue, going bluer. Bexar, that's San Antonio area.
Yep.
Travis, Tarrant, Collin. Look at them. I want you to look at them closely because they are light pink. Remember I told you the trend was happening?
Yeah, you did. And they used to be just predominantly red.
Yeah. Then El Paso, Hidalgo. That's RGV. That's Rio Grande Valley.
Yep.
Look at all of that blue that's going to be on the board up top. It's not enough votes. It's not enough votes down to the bottom to carry Texas if you don't have the ones that are up in the top quadrant.
That's true. By population alone, because the areas down in the bottom end of the quadrant are very densely populated, a lot of rural areas.
Right. So
just to, just familiarize, viewers that may not be familiar with Texas. So when you talk about Tarrant, the biggest city you think about in Tarrant, that's Fort Worth, that's Arlington, that's that area and surrounding areas. Travis County is going to be Austin area,
where there are 97% of the entire population of Austin registered and voting.
Yeah. Bexar is going to be down in your San Antonio area. And then Collin that's McKinney, Plano, Allen.
Yep.
all of that.
Rich,
So
richest county in Texas.
yeah, the richest county in Texas. You got it. That's where
Yeah.
all your Fortune 500 companies are. Just it's all of that, Collin County. So when you get up to Frisco and all of that, that's Prosper. Well, Prosper is actually going into Denton County now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's here. So that's
and look how light Denton is. You would expect Denton to be much
because it used to be, because Denton borders Oklahoma.
Right. And what I want you to understand about this is, Les, this is 2016 color shade.
Yeah. Oh. Oh.
Yeah, try that on for size.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait just a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, hold on. You had me going now. I wasn't ready for that 2016. Because I'm thinking 2020.
No.
But you're telling me Collin County, Tarrant County, they were already swinging even back in 2016.
Right.
And that makes sense, because that would explain how Colin Aldridge won the senatorial seat in 2016.
Congressional.
Yeah. I mean, the congressional seat in 2016.
Yeah. It also explains to you why John Cornyn is running through Texas like his hair is on fire, saying,
because he's in that race against MJ Hagar, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to be so close to Don. But did you know Cornyn actually shot a video with President Trump, and they tried to make it into a Western, and it was Don and John. And he's trying to separate himself now, talking about it was like being in a bad marriage. How insulting is that to everybody who's been in a bad marriage?
Yeah, that was yeah, because they were on horses, I think, the way they did.
Yeah, they had the whole little giddy up.
Hey, we have a question for you, Charles. So I want to get this question from Danielle Walker out to you. Here it is. Is the comment by Biden last night about the oil companies going to hurt him?
No, it will not. Here's why. Okay, I've been waiting on somebody to ask me about that, Liz. I was so happy. I was so happy to hear Joe Biden tell it like it is. Just like you were talking about the millennials, I'm gonna use them for a second.
Okay.
The reason why he said it the way he said. Now, he was tired. He's an older fella. He was a little tired. But what you saw was a moment of clarity, because what Joe knows is all the oil companies are spending billions and billions of dollars on green. And when I say green, I'm talking about green energy, because they know the reality is we either burn up the planet and we don't have anywhere to live, or we position ourselves to make more money by going into new technologies. So what he's saying to them is, I'm going to be the president that pushes you. Now, I'm not going to shut you down, because if you heard the other part of his answer, he said we're going to phase it. Now, he should have did a much better job of going through his plan, because his plan is laid out really well. He's trying to get the carbon neutral by 2050. Well, he's not going to be president from 2020 to 2050. He's just trying to lay the groundwork to get those things going in that direction. And if you notice, he tied that statement to economic prosperity. How many oil workers do you know are doing only cycle work now, because it's on again, off again, on again, off again?
That's true. It's very on again, off again. When it's good, they at work, and when it's bad, they land them all off.
Right. And so, Trump is an astute businessman. I give him that. Now, he's not good at. Anyway, about him. Anyway, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma, Texas have either fracking or large oil production centers. What Trump doesn't understand is all of the people there you're going to have some that are going to take that and say, okay, he's going to cut out fracking. He is going to cut out fracking, but he can't do that. You can't turn around a ship that big in 1 year. It's going to take 9 years. You got 9 years to get your house in order. If you can't get it together by 9 years, oh well. I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, I did too. That's why I put it up.
I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, I think Biden was speaking to a certain segment because the people that you were talking about that were in those purple brackets, their number one issues are healthcare and climate because they want to be able to live good and they want to have somewhere to live good. So that was a very forward-thinking statement to make.
Well, I did think he could have done a better job, like you said, of articulating. And I get it was at the end of the night, but because he kind of left the point short in terms of explaining it. Because
he did.
Of course, the taglines, of course, the networks are just going to pick on the tagline because he kind of boffered it a little bit. I mean, he it wasn't clean.
It wasn't clean, but I mean, the goal was not to be perfect. The goal was to be good, and he was actually great because he was standing up there telling the truth. The other fella, I don't know, he was talking about some conspiracy that you had to have a primer class on in order to know what he was talking about.
Well, here's the thing, and let me clear up some facts on one. So there was another point, and we're talking about, and there's another area I'm going to turn to dealing with the debate that has not much to do with well, I'll just save it for when I get there because I want to get your thoughts because I got my thoughts. And I want to hear the audience thoughts on that one particularly. But he also made the statement in reference to immigration, right? And so
statement about immigration. That's a very target-rich environment.
Well, yeah, and so the statement that he made, so particularly when you look at the Rio Grande Valley, you look at Texas in general, so he made the statement that it was and I love how he always blames it on anybody, but he said the Obama administration put the cages, and I want to clear, they did have cages. However, it was his policies that there were no policies that separated kids from families in the previous administration. Those were his policies. And if you go back and look at what Jeff Sessions rolled out when he was the Attorney General, that's exactly what he came out and said.
So the backstory on that is everybody watched when they went down there and took videos of those kids in those cages, right?
Right.
That was 2018. These 545 kids that are separated from their parents and probably permanently separated from their parents are from 2017. They're from the pilot program.
Oh.
So when you stand up there and try to say it was Obama's fault, nobody in the history of immigration has ever gone and done something that harsh. That's akin to kidnapping.
Yeah, it was bad.
Matter of fact, I think it fits the UN definition, the United Nations definition of kidnapping. And for you to say, well, let me just back up because that bothers me. Because let somebody try to take Maddie away from you.
Oh yeah, they're gonna have to take me too.
Right.
It's just gonna.
So think about this. You did that. And when you have a chance to say, look, that policy was harsh, we didn't implement it properly, and we're gonna do everything we can to get it right. No, this man says that you took the cameras down there, they living good, they saved it in a clean, safe environment. And then to try to say, well, it was drug cartels and coyotes, meaning that those are human trafficking people that are moving people back and forth. Coyotes are the people that move, that know where all the soft spots are on the border to get them across. That's some BS. These kids came seeking asylum with their parents because their country is in turmoil. And all you can think to do is to take them away and not even have contact information to put them back together. No, you did that on purpose because you wanted to be a deterrent. And then the other part of that really just tore me up is two things. And I know you want to get to talk about the talk. I already know where your head is. I know you want to talk about the talk. But before we get to the talk, I want you to understand when you're talking about a person's ethnicity and you say, I don't want to say it, but the only person that will come back for a hearing on their asylum issue is a low IQ person, that's a racist statement, bro. Call it what it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is. Yeah, because he basically was saying that they were the ones that came back for their court appointment, court dates were of low IQ.
Right.
So, translation, you basically saying they dumb for following the law.
For following the law. And just so the record is clear, and our viewers have all the information, he said 99% of the people skip those hearings. That is a lie. When they had those hearings going and they were giving people, letting them out until it was time for their hearing, yeah, some of the hearings took a long time because they have very slow policies. Immigration policy in the United States needs a full overhaul. The actual numbers are this: 75% of the people showed up for their hearings, 25% didn't. If 75% of people are doing it, that's a pretty good turnout, especially if they could have just gone and left into the country. There's a lot of people in America. If they really wanted to skip out, they could get skinny and be gone. So, I mean, I don't know. Now,
I mean, I can't disagree with you there. Not at all. I mean, I think, again, I love the way they do the fact checking, right? Because there's fact checking on both sides. But the fact of the matter is, I thought. So I'm gonna get to the point, because here's what audience and family chime in on this, because here's what I want to know, right? So we had a new moderator in this one, and although it might have been new for some people, you might not be familiar with the moderator. But how do you think she did?
She being Kristen Welker.
Huh?
She being Kristen Welker.
Oh, I was gonna get there. I was building it up, but go ahead. Yes. Yes.
Go ahead. Call her by her name, because she's a superstar. Call her by her name.
Look, we're talking about Kristen Welker. And what are your thoughts? I want to hear what your thoughts was on how she managed the debate and allowed for a actual debate. I mean, it was a fair debate. It was actually a good debate. And I want to hear your thoughts, family, on what you thought about how she did. We've had 3 debates.
2. He skipped one because he had.
Oh, that's right. He skipped one. So we've had 2 presidential debates, 2 presidential debates, and 1 vice presidential debate.
Right.
So I want to hear. I want to hear from the family here. What do you think about? Because I'm gonna save how I thought she did, but I want to hear what you thought she did. And then Charles, of course, we've had some backlash on that. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this issue, because it's an issue that's unique to Black women, for one. It's an issue that's even unique to minority women, even number 2. I want to talk about it because the backlash has been that whole, we've heard it before, the angry woman. And
okay, so this is what I'm going to say about this, because we got 7 minutes. And there's a whole bigger issue that we got to tackle.
All right.
Welker is a rock star. Donald Trump was trying to work the ref, and he got worked like a rib. When you don't prepare, you fail. So when you're not prepared, you're going to beg the referee to save you. And she gave him a chance. Hey, you want me to help you? Answer my question. He couldn't. There, I said it. It was terrible. It was slow. It wasn't a good debate. Joe Biden hit him with a left. He hit him with a right. Then he.
No, I'm talking from the standpoint of how it was moderated.
Oh yeah, she was excellent. She was excellent.
She was excellent. So I'm going to put some of your get them in. I'm going to put your comments up. Daniel says, okay, oh no, that was a free one. Let me get this one. Okay, here we go. Compared to previous moderators, she maintained the decorum much better. I agree.
The other thing that she did that the other ones did not do, she was forceful in restating her question with a follow-up question. That way you can't just leave it open-ended. You're going to have to answer this question. Whether you answer the first way or the second way, answer my question.
Thought she did an excellent job with that. Excellent job. So, and the reason why I only brought it up, because, it came up in my class today, just talking about the styles of techniques. Do what is too far? And even when it was actually just dealing with the concept of managing people, right? Like, how do you create the decorum? And so, and they were talking about the debate in particular, but I thought she did a much better job. I thought she did a great job of handling that. And listen, that's no easy task to moderate any kind of political debate. It is not. It is a tough task because you're moderating two opposing sides.
So this the issue I want you. This is the issue I want you to hit on, though. This is the issue I want you to hit on. The talk.
I'm gonna let you take the talk because I'm listening to her.
This is what separated her issue, her moderating from everybody else. Because a lot of people like to do identity politics. What she did was real. It was trill because she said, do you understand? Basically, what she's asking you is, do you understand why people are in the streets rioting? Do you understand why black mothers and fathers don't want to send their kids out? Do you even know what the talk is? And if you don't, are you qualified to run this country? Because we are a part of the country.
Yeah, I wanted you to hit it because I knew you were going to hit it from such a strong point because I almost fell out my chair. I was so excited that she went there, but I couldn't believe she went there at the same time because nobody that I've ever heard has done it like that. And I thought she didn't let them off the hook.
No, she didn't.
One of them. You gonna stand if you want to be the commander-in-chief, you gonna answer the question that people want to know.
Right, because that is very important to black families right now. Because, like she said, you could be rich, you could be poor, and you still need that talk because you may not make it back in the house. And if you don't understand what that means, then you're probably not going to be qualified to get our vote.
That was as real as you could get. Yeah. And here's what I tell you, if you are listening to this podcast and this show, and you have no idea what the talk is, number one, that tells me you're not African American, and number two, you don't have no friends, or you need to call them. Because the talk is the talk that we all must give as parents or as kids, we all must get so that we can try to make it back home alive.
That's right. Because your zip code can change, your pocket can get fatter or your pocket can get lighter. You can have the bread or you can not, but your skin color not changing. Did Trump answer? Oh my gosh. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because he was basically saying, you people. Because he tried to say, well, I gave money to HBCUs, so that's the talk. I gave the money to the HBCUs. And he had the audacity to say,
you did not do that justice. No, you did not do that justice. He said, hey, I gave him money. I think they like me. They should like me.
Right. But they like HBCUs. All black people are not HBCUs.
I know.
We come in all flavors.
All flavors.
Yeah. But here's the part. This is the part that really just tore me up. And he said it multiple times, so this is his go-to. Two things that tore me up. Any person that tells you they're the least racist person in the room.
Oh.
Okay.
They're probably the opposite.
Right. Okay, then. All right. So I'm gonna let everybody know what that is. That's code for look at me. I'm racist. Okay. All right. Now, the other thing is this. He said, and Joe Biden just tripped me out because Joe was on one last night. President Trump says, I have done more for black people than anyone. With the exception, maybe, of Abraham Lincoln.
That's what
let's talk about that for a second.
Well, now, but wait a minute. In his defense, he did not say, I've done more to help them. He simply said, I've done more for them. I'm just being devil's advocate. Listen, I'm just stating what he said.
Okay, we're going to go with what you said. But here's what I saw. He does not understand history. And he definitely doesn't understand black history.
I don't think you can find any argument on that.
And so Black Twitter went in on him. I don't know if you saw it, but Black Twitter went in on him a couple times. So, and Joe Biden went in on him because Joe was throwing shade when he said Abraham Lincoln over there. He's done the most. Basically, what he's trying to say is he's done more than the person that supposedly did the freeing of the slaves.
Right.
But before the slaves was freed, I ride with Harriet Tubman. To me, she and Frederick Douglass did a whole lot. But that is a terrible answer to black people. Because if you're talking purely politics, then so you're going to skip over LBJ, who did the Civil Rights Act? You're going to skip over Kennedy, who started the Civil Rights Act before he was killed?
Look, I'm gonna stop it because I'm gonna have everybody gonna be shooting targets at me. They hit me in the chat right now. Stop. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Y'all. It is not the way I see it. I'm just bringing up opposing point. But here's the thing: we know, you and I both know, every one of us, all our audience knows. Hey, we're smart, articulate, educated people. We come from all walks of life, whether we got our education in the streets, whether we got it in the classroom. We are all smart and we understand a lot of stuff. What he said was very basic. It wasn't hard to understand.
Right.
So even at the lowest level of understanding, you can understand I am the least racist person in the room. Now, translation, we all know what that means.
Yes.
So that's no secret. It was almost insulting, really, because when somebody say they're the nicest person, they probably the meanest person. When somebody say they're the kindest person,
everybody get that gambit. But so that's enough about him because he's trash. Here's what I would tell you. Something that I thought was very key. So I thought there were two very key points that Joe Biden hit upon.
Okay.
Look at my character. You know who I am. Okay. A lot of young people don't buy that statement because of all the stuff that we talked about in previous shows about Kamala Harris being a prosecutor and Joe being involved with the 1994 Crime Act. What Joe was able to show and why he's going to win is this. It takes a big man to stand in front of 20 million people, and especially in front of a black audience who feels like you wronged them by putting their brothers in jail and say, I made a mistake. To me, that was probably the single most important thing that he said, other than we've already talked about Corona, talked about the kids, and he just called it what it was, criminal, taking those kids away from their parents. And then he talked about his mistake with the crime bill. Joe was not the only person that made that mistake, but Joe is the only one that's running for president. So it was important for him to stand before the people and own that. And he did. And Trump was able to muddy the water because he kept interrupting him right there. He actually has done and taken great strides to correct his wrongs. He and Obama commuted almost 2,000 people. They told the U.S. Attorney's Office when Eric Holder was there, hey, because I was in, hear me when I tell you, they said, don't do it like that. He's made strides to try to correct his wrongs, and he will make even more strides. Takes a big person to admit when they're wrong.
Yeah.
And he did that. And I think that's why he can stand before the people and honestly say, if you want to make this about character, Mr. President, I welcome that because I know my character is on point. And so a lot of the millennials, and here's where that information age comes in, Leslie, because they know all of those statistics. They know all of them. But what they don't understand is how all the black leaders in New York City and elsewhere were begging them for that crime bill. They don't know that context. And they went too far with it. But the reason they were begging for it is because crack cocaine had entered the neighborhood. And when crack cocaine came in, it started ravaging everything. And so they overcorrected. And from 1994 to now, it's taken that long to get to a point where you get a course correction. So I thought that was very big. And it's it's no way he could fit all that into a statement because I think by that time they both were ready for a blanket and a pacifier. So but that's my spiel. Last picture I want you to put up because I want to give a special shout out to Madam President and waiting is that rain picture. Well, actually two pictures. First, before you put Senator Harris up, can you put up that endorsement of Mike Espy from Barack Obama? Because I think it's important that people see that. Most people probably have seen it, but I think that's important because anybody who knows me knows I roll with Obama. And I thought it was good of him to reach back and lift Mike up. Because that's something Mike can use, right? That's something tangible he can use right there to get them turnout numbers up, baby. Let's run them up.
We said it all the time, and I like the way you ended. It's your time.
Yeah.
Go time is now.
Yeah, it's go time. It's go time. So I appreciate the president for doing that. President, he lit up Donald Trump too. He lit him up in Philly. And he will be in, for anybody who wants to know, I know the president's scared of y'all because he put it on Twitter. I don't know it like that. He put it on Twitter, but he'll be in Miami tomorrow speaking. Kamala Harris is in Georgia, Leslie, today.
No, look, 11 days ago, I expect Texas to see a lot of heat. I expect North Carolina to see a lot of heat. I expect Florida to see a whole lot of heat. And I expect Mississippi to get a little taste of heat. So I think when we look at these, and of course, the traditional battleground states of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Ohio, all of those, but
yeah,
it's going to be a full court press.
Yeah, and then one of the things I would point out to you too, I think a lot of these analysts are caught up in conventional, traditional. They're not looking at the population trends. The new battleground is the South. You look at those numbers I just showed you. Okay, so North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee. We hadn't even really talked about Tennessee, but Tennessee got something going on right now. It's hot up there, baby. Memphis, Orange, they voting. It's happening. You got the first black female senatorial candidate on the ballot.
In Tennessee?
Yes. Louisiana. They are voting. Adrian Perkins is on the ballot.
I don't know. You really think we're going to see something other than what we've traditionally seen in Tennessee?
What I'm telling you is I don't expect us to win each one of these states. But I expect for you to be able to look at the pressure that is put on and understand what can be built on that in 2 years, in 4 years, because the population is changing. Those same people that you were talking about, Gen Z, Gen X, whatever, I don't know. I'm not good with that.
Generation Z, Generation Y, which is millennials, and Generation X is you and I, man.
Yes. So traditional voter turnout models say that the baby boomers are the most reliable vote, right?
Right.
What I don't think they have accounted for is there's a convergence that's going on right now in 2020. Those younger generations are going to outnumber those older generations.
Yes.
And guess where there's a high concentration of those individuals at?
The South. States we just talked about.
The South, and they're black and they're brown.
Yep. No doubt about it. Texas leading the way.
Texas and Georgia, I think both of them right for the taking right now. Don't have to wait till 2022 or 2024.
No doubt. No doubt. I'm gonna put up this one and let you talk about it because you've already mentioned it.
Yeah. Just in case people haven't seen it. This is Vice Presidential candidate Kamala Harris. It's a still photo, but there's a video if you're interested. She's out there dancing in the rain when she was speaking to the people out there, and that was right before her birthday. So
in the rain.
Yeah, happy birthday, Senator Harris.
In the rain. That's how serious it is. In the rain.
That's how serious it is. But take a minute and understand. If you wasn't to talk to the people in the rain and have fun with it and get your dance on, that's the type of energy we need to get back up in Washington, man. So go vote, people.
Definitely go vote. Now, you know me. I'm HBCU product, but I love all HBCU band because I love what they do, the camaraderie. So I give salute to what salute. I'll give proper respect to all of them. But there's in this moment right now, where we are now with 11 days out, here's what I want to say to everybody. It's not over yet. We still got work to do. We got to push this thing all the way through to the finish line, period. And when I think of the song, It Ain't Over Till It's Over, I got to be honest. It's one band that comes to they my nemesis, but they can play this song like no other.
Really, Leslie?
I just got to, though, because we got to understand that it ain't over till it's over.
Okay, then. Well, this is what I would tell the people. Don't just vote for president. If you're in Georgia, you got Reverend Raphael Warnock on the ballot. You got John Ossoff on the ballot. You got a whole slate of Democratic candidates that can use your help. Don't just vote and walk away. Vote and then get about 10, 12 more people and take them down there. And if you can't get out because of Corona and you do that, sign up to write postcards. Might be a little late for postcards. Sign up to send text messages. Sign up to make phone calls. In Texas, MJ Hagar is running against John Cornyn. In South Carolina, Jamie Harrison against Lindsey Graham. In Mississippi, M.I. Crooked Letter. Mike Espy has a chance to be the first black senator since 1867. And considering our Founders Day was, we founded in 1877, a long time ago.
1877 as Jackson College.
Mississippi hadn't had a black senator since Hiram Revels in the 1800s, bro.
Ooh.
It's time. We got a new flag. Now we need a new senator.
Man, that means he'd be the first black senator since Reconstruction.
That's right.
Wow.
It's time to do this. Adrian Perkins is running against Curry down in Louisiana. Adrian Perkins is a 2 tours of combat mayor of Shreveport. And I know everybody knows somebody in Shreveport. Call them and tell them to get up off the couch and go vote. If you don't know nobody in Shreveport, you know somebody in Baton Rouge, you know somebody in New Orleans. Yeah, come on, let's get this. So go ahead and play your little song because you know that's my nemesis too.
I know that's his nemesis. So I'm gonna go on and do it, and I'm gonna give tribute, and I'm gonna give them their respect to the band to play it. But this song, the meaning of why I'm saying do this is bigger than them. So look, the reality is, go handle your business. We've got to take care of this, and I'm gonna let Southern tell you.